Hello everyone, I am Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I want to make this fun Christmas or holiday card with you. I'm using a bold color scheme, and I love these colors together. I have Blackberry Bliss, Bermuda Bay, Smoky Slate, and Basic Gray, and I've also used basic white cardstock for my color scheme. So I love making layered cards, and this set that I used for all these pine cones and leaves and this little berry branch is so perfect for making lots of layered cards for any holiday, winter. So I love the stamp set. It is a photopolymer stamp set. And then the dies are really fun because they have these all these different labels in them. And here's a really fun thing. If you've never seen this before, these little pieces here, you have two styles. They can cut a strip right here on any of your labels, and you can thread your ribbon through. So I love that little bonus in here. So this is quite a big set. I love it. And then I have paired this set with the Happy Holidays stamp set. I love this little bird here, and I believe he's good for all kinds of cards and any occasion and any season, really. So even though the sayings are for Christmas or the holidays, you could definitely use this all year. So I love this little bird, and we're going to use him today on our card as well. So let me move a few things off to the side. I have pre-cut many of these. I've stamped and went ahead and die cut a lot of these pieces just to save on time. And we're also going to add a little fun to our envelopes. So I love adding that little bit. Okay, let me tell you the pieces here. I've got some scrap pieces because I'm going to cut out my bird and the word Noel. Those do not have dies, so I'm just going to be fussy cutting those with my scissors. And I have all my little bits and pieces, and I want to show you something really quick. So a lot of these layer. So you'll notice this is the background of the pine cone, and then there's a little detailed stamp. This stamp right here is really fun. It actually layers onto this, but I have stamped it in Smoky Slate and die cut it, and then to me it looks like a snow-covered leaf. So I love that. So we're going to use that on our card as well. And I have, my leaves are stamped in Bermuda Bay, so I have a couple different Bermuda Bay leaves. And then I have, this looks like the pine needles, like on the branch. Then I have some berries. I have those in Blackberry Bliss and Smoky Slate. And then I have my pine cones are stamped in Smoky Slate, and then the detail stamp is in Basic Gray. So I have a little bit that I'm going to stamp, and then I'm going to show you this really fun element on here. This is, I used this label, but then I embossed it for a little pop in my background. So I have that label. I'm going to show you with my mini cut and emboss machine how I emboss that. I have a piece for the inside of my card. It is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and that's basic white. And then my base is Smoky Slate, and it is 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches. And I like to score mine. It's scored at 5 1/2. And then I like to use my bone folder to get a really crisp edge. So we're going to do a little coloring on this card with our Stampin' Blends. And we're going to stamp the inside and put a little fun on our envelope. Let me move this off to the side. I'm going I'm gonna grab that mini. I love this little guy. He's great for quick jobs. And the platform is about 3 inches wide. So this is a mini, and it will work with some of the embossing folders, the smaller embossing folders, and then if you want to do quick label dies or something that's small. If you want to know what coordinates with this, in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, you will see a little symbol that says mini next to the dies or the embossing folders for what works with this. So when you get your mini, you get all your plates. So for the 3D embossing folder that I'm using, we'll need plate 1 and plate 4. And I'm going to use this wintry 3D embossing folder. There's actually 2 folders in here. They are skinnier, and there's one with snowflakes and one with pine branches, and I like the snowflake one, so I'm going to use the snowflakes. I'm just going to grab my label here, and I want that really big snowflake. So then you put number 1, you put your embossing folder with the hinge toward the top, and then you put plate number 4. And we're going to just emboss that really quickly. Like I said, this little mini is so wonderful for just doing quick little bits on your cards. And there, isn't that so pretty? I love the impression you get from it. So that is for our card front. I'm going to throw this off to the side, and one of the best parts about our new cut and emboss machines is they fold up and store compactly. This also makes it easier to take on the go. Okay, let's get to our stamping parts. I already have my bird loaded on my block, and I'm going to stamp that in the basic gray. So I'm just going to tap lightly and ink them all up. I like to check and make sure that I don't have any halos. And then just stamp straight down and pick it straight up. And I am just throwing my items off to the side. I will clean them when we're done. I also need this stuff right here out of the way. I also need the word Noel. And I'm going to be stamping the inside. I've made a few of these cards, and I love this wishing your wishing your family health and happiness throughout the coming year. I think that's such a great saying for your holiday cards. And it really could go with if you want religious or non-religious cards. So I'm just using these scraps, and I'm going to stamp this. We're going to cut out around this, so I'm not worried if it's straight or perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead, and I want to show you how I'm going to color my bird. And I'm going to try zooming in here. So I am going to use Stampin Blends. And I have my Smoky Slate, and I also have my color lifter. So on my original card, I can pull that back in here, I colored him, but then I wanted it to be lighter because I have a lot of gray going on in here. So I want to lighten this. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So let me zoom in. And I'm just going to take the dark Smoky Slate, and I'm just going around the edge. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just adding in some dark areas and kind of tracing along those lines that the Stampin' artist has given us. So you can be put on as much as you want. Then I'm going to come in with the light Smoky Slate, and I'm just going over top of where I put the dark and then filling in. You can always go back and fill in any of the areas that you want darker. And I know it looks really messy, but you'll see when it dries, it's nice and smooth. I'm not trying to color perfect. I just want to get the color on there. And when you go over top of that dark Smoky Slate with the light Smoky Slate, it's going to blend and it's going to smooth out. So if you wanted any darker spots, you could go back in with the dark and add that back in. And then you can go back with your light and keep continuing to blend that till you like how it looks. And you could leave the bird dark if you wanted to. That's really up to you and how you want it to look. Now I'm going to come in with the color lifter, and what the color lifter does is it really pushes that ink through the paper or back into the area where you want it. So when you're coloring, it is going to bleed through. So make sure you have something to protect your surface that you're working on. And I'm just going to come in here, and I really just want this to lighten a little bit. We don't have a really light gray, so I am just going over the areas that I want to lighten. And I don't really mind if it has what I call kind of a splotchy look, because it's a bird, so I'm not being really precise with how I'm putting this on. I like the texture that it leaves. Okay. So your color will continue to develop as it dries. So there's my bird. And if I wanted it a little darker, I can go back in and add whatever colors I want to on there. So I'm going to cut him out with my scissors. Let me zoom back out here. There we go. And I'm going to also cut this out. And then we'll stamp the inside and our envelope, and we'll start assembling this layered card. So I absolutely love layered cards, and I think they're just so fun to make. I love how they look. And that's kind of my thing. I'm going to trim this off. Put that to the side. It's a little bit easier for me to control. And I'd love to say that I'm perfect at the fussy cutting, but I'm not. So I'm practicing what I preach, and I'm practicing. I love the look when I see other people cut out around their stamped words. I just think it looks so neat, and I just need a little practice. And so there's no other way to get that other than to make your cards that way. So I love this word too. It's a nice big word, and it goes with many things holiday for the winter. Just have to be careful not to cut your fingers. That's the tricky part. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I like to just cut around quickly, and then I kind of trim it up. So probably not the perfect method, but I just can't hang on to all of that cardstock. So, and you can get as close to your bird as you want. If you don't want any white outline, then you could cut right up to the line if you wanted. I don't mind a little bit of white. I'm layering the word over where his feet are, so I'm not too concerned with if that's perfect because some of it's going to get covered up. Oops, I cut part of his beak off. Oh well. That's okay. So as I said before, I love making layered cards, and I hope you really like this card. I tend to go a little overboard with the die cuts, but you could tone this down a little bit if you didn't want as many. You could use a lot less and make it a little simpler. I just really love those layers. I'm going to show you when I start layering these, how I kind of set my card up. But first I'm going to move some of these pieces because I want to stamp the inside of my card. And I need my Stampin' Pierce mat. This stamp set is photopolymer, so whenever you're stamping with photopolymer, you really should use a Stampin' mat underneath so that you can get a good impression. So for the inside of my card, I'm going to do the pine cone. Oops, and that's the basic gray and the Smoky Slate. Move these before So I'm going to do this full pine cone, what I would call the base in Smoky Slate. I just want to. And so you also want to think about how much you want to write in your inside. So if you don't want a lot stamped in here, you could keep it very simple with one pine cone. And then that way you have room for whatever you want to write. I'm not going to write a whole bunch in there, so I'm just going to load it up. And then I'm stamping my envelope, and I just want to do 2 pine cones. And this is the smaller pine cone that's in the set. And then I'm going to take the basic gray and that detailed stamp. And you just layer that over top. Isn't that fun? I love how that looks. I love the pine cones in this set. And pine cones can be for fall as well. So don't limit yourself just to winter with some of these pieces. So our envelope is done. I'm going to toss that off to the side. And then what else do we want to stamp? Now, my saying here is going to be also in basic gray. And I do not need the mat for this. So you'll see where I like to practice before I stamp. So I'm going to put this on my block. I'm going to try to make sure that my words are straight. with this top edge. And then I just like to ink it up. Oh, I got a little halo there. Make sure you wipe that off or it will be on your card. And then I line up my block and make sure that I'm stamping straight. And then when you stamp your paper, you can use your grid paper. This is one of the reasons why I love the Stampin' Up! Grid paper, because it helps me line up my piece of paper. And then I can make sure that I'm stamping correctly. Now I'm going to close that basic gray because otherwise my hands will be in it. And I'm going to grab, I want to do one of the berry branches because that's my favorite thing. Some of these I already have. Uh-oh. My branch is missing. That's never good. I just had it on the block. So just a second here. This is the Beauties of Stamping. Let's see if I stuck it somewhere. Oh no. Nothing like losing your stamp. It was just right here. It's probably on the bottom of something. Anybody else ever done that? Okay, well, we're just gonna have to improvise here because I'm not sure what I did with that stamp. And of course it's photopolymer, so it's clear. Okay, oh, there it is. It was on the floor. Okay, whew. Sorry about that slight delay. Note to self, do not take these off your block. What I normally do, just a little tip since we just had that experience, I typically stick these to my case. So if you've ever had that happen, you know that feeling of dread that you've lost your stamp. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I've already been stamping a ton with it and it's a little stained because that's how I was able to see it. So I do want to put some berries in here because I love these colors and I want to use them. So I find it easier for me to stamp the berries first, but I've already been stamping with this, so I kind of already know my preference. You could do the stem and then the berries, but like I said, I've already been stamping with this a ton, so I already know what I like. And that will stain your stamp. The darker colors will stain, so don't fret over that too much. And then I did my stem in Smoky Slate, and I don't want it to go, so when I stamp this, it's going to go down into that pine cone. I'm just going to ink, I'm going to let it hang off my ink pad just a little bit. I'm just trying to, there we go. Fun. I absolutely love winter berries. I don't know if anyone else does, but I just love them. So I did have a Bermuda Bay leaf in here, and so I'm trying to see what can I fit in, and I think I might just do maybe just stamp it along the side there. So I'm gonna stamp this longer one. There's tons of leaves in here though that you could choose. And so I'm just gonna stamp this right along there, right over top of that. There we go. And then you'll want to make sure you clean that off. All right, so let's get to assembling. here's the fun part. I absolutely love to play with these layers. Let me get some things out of the way here. So here's our original card. And I like to just lay my pieces out, and I group them usually by color and style, and I just kind of like to see everything I have to play with. Now, because I have already assembled this card several times, I know how I want to do it, but I want to show you just really quick a little bit of the process when I'm doing a layered card. So I like to lay down all my pieces, and they're not going to stay perfect because they're not adhered down. And then I just kind of start tucking in. So I wanted these along the side, and I wanted little pops of color, but I didn't want too much color. So I also brought in some more gray, and then I just start building. And it's okay if things move around. I loved my little snow piece, so I wanted it more on the gray, and then you just tuck in all your little bits and pieces. And if you die cut too many, no worries. Just, I like to stamp sheets of things and die cut and make piles and just start layering and playing. So that is a little bit of what I do. And then when I go to glue those items, I pull them off and I just set them off to the side where I want them to go on my card, like that. But since I've already done this, I know where I want them to go, so we're just gonna start adhering those down. And another tip that I do sometimes, I will take a picture of my card, and then that way I have something to reference if I get interrupted while I'm making my card. I can kind of remember what my mind was thinking, because if you're a crafter, you know sometimes you walk away from your project and then you have a hard time getting back into that mode once you've stopped, especially if you get interrupted in the middle of your creating. So I'm gonna start. I just wanna make sure that my piece opens the correct way. Again, that's Smoky Slate. And then I'm going to adhere this down, and when you're doing something that has embossing, this is dry embossing, you'll want to make sure you use a very permanent or strong adhesive, because the texture needs a little bit extra. And so we have the multi-purpose liquid glue, we have the tear and tape, we have the Seal Plus, so those are all great options. You can try the other, you can do Seal, but it just, it may come up because of the texture. So you'll notice I did this off center just a little bit, because I already knew from playing earlier that I want this to go up the side, so that fills in that space a little bit. Let's see, my little bird here, he's gonna be on dimensionals. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those on, but I'm not going to actually adhere him down yet. This is just so I can lay him up on my card and see where I want certain things for placement. And I tend to use more dimensionals than everyone else, so please feel free to adjust what I'm doing. Let's see if this one will fit. I need a mini down there. Okay. Now, I already know that when I have my bird on here, I want the Noel to overlap him just a little bit, so I put a dimensional on this end. You can also put one right here. And then part of it will get glued onto our bird when he's all ready to go. So we have regular dimensionals, and then we have minis. So minis are great for those little spots that you need extra support. Okay, so I know that this is gonna go down towards the bottom of the card, like this. And I'm just going to start adhering these things. Now, I use the liquid glue, and then I'm going to show you a little tip to tuck in glue dots and once you have everything where you want it. So I know I want to layer things, so I don't want the top part to be glued down all the way. So it's going to go here. And then this one's going to tuck in here. So this allows me a chance to move my items a little bit and tuck things in where I think it needs something. So I'm just gluing that bottom. So this is up because I knew that I tucked some berries in here, and I'm going to tuck some of those in last. So I'm trying to get some of my big leaves on, and then I will start tucking those berries. So I love Blackberry Bliss and Bermuda Bay together, and the grays are probably my favorite neutrals. I kind of go through phases. I do love crumb cake and the browns too, but I do tend to favor the gray. Especially, I use basic gray all the time. I think I just like adding the pops of color. I'm going to, this one's going to go over here. So I don't know if you've invested in this set yet, but I think it's a beautiful set. I absolutely love all the different leaves. I can certainly see this leaf for lots of things other than Christmas. I tuck one of these in. And then I have a pine cone back there. We have lots of pines on our property, so pine cones are an essential thing here. We have lots of those. Let's see. Okay, I need to put this in. And I'm just kind of copying that card that I already did. I did all the hard work already of kind of fitting where I want those pieces. And I'm not too worried about these down here because we're going to cover those up. Let's see. Put another pine cone. I think bird stamps are probably one of my favorites. Oops, got a little glue on my fingers. Now I want this to tuck in. And it will not end up exact. That's one thing I can promise when I'm doing these layering cards. Every single one turns out a little bit different. Now I'm changing the direction of this pine cone. On my original card, I just used Smoky Slate on Smoky Slate for my pine cone. Oh, excuse me, can't speak. My pine cones. And I wanted a little bit more contrast on those, so I added the basic gray instead of Smoky Slate. And I like the pine cone facing the other way. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where I've laid everything, because I'm going to start tucking in those berries. Here's my fun branch, or I mean leaf, where I just love this this detailed stamp, and then when you die cut it, it looks so fun. Just Trying to get it so that I know it's behind the bird. There we go. Okay, let's start tucking our berry branches here. Oops. This is the other reason why my bird is not adhered just yet, so that I can tuck all those little bits and pieces in where I want them to go. Whoops, we don't need that. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck this in. About where I want it to go, because I want it to break up that white on my word a little bit. And then I have one more. And I want this to go over here. And the liquid glue stays wet just a little bit. I probably should have pulled this out. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. I want it to come out just a little bit further. So I'm just pulling it up. I'm going to stick some more glue. If you use glue dots, this is a great reason to use the glue dots, because you can really adjust those. Now I definitely have glue all over me. I keep baby wipes nearby for this very reason. There we go. I think I like that. And he's sticking just a little because I did get glue where I didn't want it. That's okay. It's gonna dry and it will be fine. If you have an adhesive eraser, that will work great to help clean up that. So now I'm just going to stick my bird down, and I'm going to add some glue on this end, and then this also has the dimensionals on it. So let me take all these off. Like I said, I just absolutely adore this little bird stamp. I've used them in a fall card so far and my holiday card, and I think it would be great for birthday cards or really any occasion, especially for the bird lovers that you have on your card making or on your card list if you send cards. And of course, I make cards because I love sending them. Here is that. I'm going to stick a little bit of glue on this end here. Oops, maybe a little too much glue. And okay. And I'm trying to get it kind of straight. It's all right if it isn't exactly perfect. We just want it to be fun. So there is the front of my card. I absolutely love this set, and I love these colors together. So if you're looking for a fun color scheme, whether it's Christmas or anything really, this is so fun. Okay, let's put our inside piece in. Sometimes I do this first, especially if I'm going to have dimensionals on the front. That's okay. Just make sure that you have it going the right direction. And I like a little bit more of the card base showing. So again, I've done, I have done 5 inches by 3 3/4 so that I have a wider area around here. You could make it a little bit bigger if you want more of a white area. And there is our card and our really cute matching envelope. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I am new. This is my first video that I've made just for my YouTube channel, but I hope that you'll come back and join me for more projects. If you'd like to check out any of the Stampin' Up! Products, you can go to bethroy.stampinup.net, and you can click around on there and shop now and view some of the products that I've used today. So I used the Happy Holidays, and I just have the stamp set. It does have a bundle. If you like to collect the bundles, this does have a punch that does a freestanding holly leaf and berries. And then I used the Christmas season bundle. I used the stamp set and the dies, and this can pair perfectly with any holiday stamp set sentiments that you have, or even winter birthdays. Pine cones can be for fall, so this is a great set. And there's our card. Oops. And then here's some other things that I've made. I made a tag with this set, and this For You is from Peaceful Cabin. I just, again, layered a lot of those elements that I used on my card. And this was a color scheme that I did over on my Facebook page. And so I love these colors together. They can be for lots of different things. If you enjoyed my video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you soon. Have a great day.